Right, we're going to go from this, okay, to this. I'm going to show you how we're going to make all these little bits here. So at this point you may like to follow what I've done, or you might decide you want to go off piste and do it yourself. All we're doing is using up the last little bits of wool. There should be approximately 5 grams of each colour left, and we'll just mix and match as we go along. So what I've done here is I've used bits of green and I've accentuated the green that's underneath, and I'm going to make that a little bit longer. We're going to have some of the blue going down his legs, and then little bits going round just the bottom there, just to give his little fringes. And then I've used blue for the contrast against the orange here, and to break up the orange I've used a little bit of red there to accentuate the gold on his back. And then we go into purple underneath his bottom, and blue, green and a little bit of purple up against his tail look. So what I suggest you do with the remaining wool that you've got is that you separate it into 2 piles. So I'm just going to adjust the camera so that we can just see there. Okay, and what we're going to do is, so you've got that bit left, so you separate it in half and put half to one side because that's going to be for the other side, and then we're going to break it up into little bits, and the smallest bits that we can really, and they are, let me just get the tape measure out. We've got, if I hold that up for you, you can see that's about 3 inches it says. Can't believe it for a minute, to be honest, but never mind. That's what the tape measure says, 7 centimetres. Okay, I'm going to pull that in half, lengthways, look, can you see? It's an imprecise science, guys, don't get too hung up on the length, but you can see it's really quite short in places and longer in others. So I'm going to half it again, if you can, half it again, and then this is just with a damp hand, not even that damp, I mean mine's just in a warm room. So there's one side pointy, other side pointy, and I then pull that middle bit apart, and then I've got 2 little bits there. And I'm going to make a little pile of those, of each colour as I go along, and if you want, just add, so to start with, I started by doing long ones of the orange. So with the orange I got the length that is, this was for the saddle bit, so if you decide you want the saddle in a different colour, then we've got 14 centimetres here, which according to this is 5 inches. And did exactly the same. So I have got, how many there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got 6 going on there. So pull that apart. And they get longer as you roll them as well. So then I used one fluffy end at the top, and just laid it along there. Sorry, I started at the back, so there, and just tack it on and see how you go, and do that all the way along with all of them. So that just goes, let me see if you can see that, there you go. And then when I got to here, just laid them side by side by side by side by side along the back. After I did that, I then laid, I'll just pull that up for you and you can see, I laid a layer of red tiny little bits of red, quite widely spaced. And then got little bits of orange over the top there. You'd want each one down. You just pop it on there like that. And just tack it on. When I did the red, I decided I needed some contrast there, so I just popped some little blue ones just underneath. Look, they're only laid on, I haven't needled them on at all. Just testing how it looks all the time. And the good thing about that is just laying it on is that you can get it all. If you then just sort of put your hand on it and give it a little jiggle, it just felts it down just enough to be able to cling to itself. So you can just test where everything's going all the time. And that's what I want you to do. So then I built up his chest here. Needs building up a little bit more, but I don't know whether I'm going to run out of wool or not. And then just a little bit down the inside of his legs, and then again I haven't done his bottom yet, but there's going to be purple there to contrast nicely with that orange. Put a bit more purple in. If I have any orange left, I might put a little bit more underneath there, but keep going, and that will be him just about done. The last bit I want you to think about after you've done all that, it's going to be, I want his eye to have a little bit of contrast. I want you round his eyeball, look, can you see? Round his, not his eyeball, his eye line. I've done a little bit of purple, and I think I might just do another little tiny roll, look. And I'm just going to pop that there. Can you see? Just under there, just strike it out with your single needle. I'm just going to push that in. And the good thing is at this stage is that if you've got a tiny little wispy bit there, if it's too long, you can always pull it off. So that's just to the back of his eye liner, his eyelid edge. We'll do that. And then, after that, we're on to put a tiny little bit of black in his eye. And then when you've absolutely finished and there is nothing left to do, I might even put a tiny little bit of purple in his eye. I just like this purple. I haven't used the black. You should all have a bit of black in your kit. I haven't used any yet. I'll just put a bit of purple in there, see how it looks. Always tack stuff off. No, don't like it. Take it out. But a bit of black and then tiny little bit of white just at the front there. Bit of sparkle just there. And those are done in exactly the same way. Really short pieces. If you want really short pieces, if you roll them like that, either end, and then you pull them apart, they'll rip apart. And then you add tiny little pieces around his eye, look. And now our very, very, very last one, I will come back and I'll show you exactly how to put the last little bits in his eyes. So I'll see you when you've done his feathers.